biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend and what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. Men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
All right, and we are back with another podcast on this channel and playlist. Today I have hoe-math. I found his content interesting. I actually find his stuff on social media, on X, very compelling. So I've enjoyed interacting there and seeing what's going on. So I thought it'd be cool to have him on. A lot of you guys seem to watch his content already, so you're pretty familiar with it. We're going to go with Matt today rather than calling him Ho or Math or whatever. So we're just going to call him Matt. But yeah, we'll run as long as we need to and dive down some rabbit holes and sort of shoot the shit. I just like having conversations with cool and interesting people. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
I want to start kind of with the channel and like the build up for it, because I mean, like, YouTube's not an easy gig for a lot of people. I know tons and tons of people that have tried it and they just sort of flop and fail and they have to give up eventually. But you managed to carve out a really interesting niche, sort of scribbling away and walking people through concepts that you illustrate along the way, which is totally new. I don't think I've seen anybody do that yet.
Yeah. That's the more that I think about it, the more I'm surprised by that. There are some channels that were like, God, I hope I don't space on the name now. There was, I think, Grade A, Under A, and then there was another guy who he drew really simple. Like, his characters always had this curly hair, but they had like the big eyes too. And people say that I remind them of him. He drew simple things like this too. But in terms of like self-help or modern dating or how to figure out life stuff, I don't think I've seen that either. And the more I think about it, the more I am surprised that nobody has done it, because it's just such an effective medium. I was talking about this on X yesterday, made a post about anime and how cartoons are really boiled down, because when you look at something this simple, you don't have to process anything but a couple of circles, a couple of dots, and a couple of lines. And it removes everything else from your perception other than just the things that you need to look at, which reduces a lot of noise. It's like it reduces the mental processing, which increases the speed at which you learn. And I guess it is kind of strange that nobody else has done that yet. And I stumbled on it too. I didn't really plan it.
What was the inspiration?
Well, the inspiration was I just kind of was cranky at a video that came up on TikTok. Like, my life was going really well in 2019, and then COVID ruined everything. And my life was just a burning disaster for years. And I was just living in my mother's extra home with no job, going nowhere, just like nothing left after COVID. And I was just being cranky at a TikTok video, and I responded to it, and it got 4.3 million views. And I said, "Oh, okay, I have a career now."
That was on your first try.
Well, yeah, it was the first time that I ever commented, like, did a stitch on a girl's video. It was a girl saying, what was it? Men with no hose, where are you? And then I drew the 1 to 10 chart, and I
Yeah.
showed her where they were, like, "You're not answering them on Bumble," and everyone loved it, so I just kept going. That's
Yeah.
where I got the name too. The first, when I woke up in the morning and I realized it was going viral, the first comment was, "I didn't expect to wake up to hoe-math," and they used the E and everything, and so I was just like, "Okay, wake
That's
up to hoe-math."
amazing.
Yeah, big
That's
fluke.
yeah, it's a huge fluke, dude. Like, I don't think you understand what the chances of something like that happening. They're
It's unrealistic.
yeah, it's exceptionally low because I mean, for most guys that I've talked to that have had success creating content or on YouTube, they usually most guys will be like, yeah, I was committed for like a year to two. Like I think when I was talking to Dr. Ryan Taraban, he was like, yeah, I was committed to 2 videos a week for 24 months before I was going to give up. And I think, his first video popped after about a year, maybe 13 or 14 months, I think he said. So
Yeah.
that was like pretty much the same experience that I had. I mean, I never really had a timeline or a deadline or anything. I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to stick a GoPro on my windshield and talk. I kind of ran out of friends with cool cars to talk to. But yeah, you got super lucky, man. That was awesome. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, I'll have a cool car one of these days.
I think I've watched enough of your videos that I gathered that there was obviously something that led you to examining yourself within and sort of
For sure.
getting red pilled. And I think it was like a weight issue and an awkward issue sort of thing with women, but
Yeah.
changed all of that.
Well, yeah, it's been difficult for the past few years. I was doing better with health again in 2019, and then COVID kind of ruined everything. And I've been up and down since then. I'm still lifting, I'm still getting cardio, I'm still eating healthy. Like I didn't never went back to like junk food the way that I used to eat when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So I've made a lot of self transformations. A lot of them are in habits, health habits. A lot of them are in the important ones are in how I construct the world. This is something that I recognized for the first time when I was 26. I went to a party that was being thrown by a girl I was dating, and I had known her since I was 11. And it was everyone from high school was there, and I hadn't seen them since I was 18.
Mhm.
And they all said that they didn't recognize me and I was a different person. I was like, "Why are you not? Why are you exactly the same?" And it kind of became clear to me that people don't do that self-examination. They don't think about, am I thinking the right thing? And am I relating to the world in the right way? They just kind of get set up and then they keep going with it. So the motivation for all that it wasn't really conscious. I just kind of have always um, I've always valued not staying the same just to stay the same. I've always valued uh, being wrong when I'm wrong. And so then I have the opportunity to become more right. And what got me particularly into this, what gave me the skill set that I have to do what I do now was number one, a lot of experience with women, which came after I got fit. It was just like flicking a light switch after I lost the weight and put on not even like a lot of muscle. Like I would say that I got pretty jacked at several points, but that wasn't even necessary for it. But just getting fit flipped a light switch with women, and I understood women differently, and that conflicted with everything that I was told growing up, which is a really common story. I think even Tupac is on video talking about that at some point where he said, when you try to be nice, it doesn't work. And then you do what they say is the wrong thing and it works.
Yeah,
It's like,
there's a
oh,
stitch somewhere on the internet of
Yeah.
Tupac prior to sort of getting red pilled and post, and it's like you can see there's two different men there.
Yeah. Yeah. hmm It's like the before and after.
Yeah.
And
How much
I'm
did you weigh
trying
when you
to,
were fat?
what's up?
How much did you weigh when you were fat?
Oh, the most was like 265 at
Okay.
5'11". So it was pretty bad. It was like a 46-inch waist or something.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then I got all the way down to 34 at one point.
34 and how much weight?
The lowest that I was ever at this height was 188. So I lost about 100 pounds of fat and put on like 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, I think you showed a couple of pictures in one of your videos. You blurred out your face, but it was kind of like a mirror selfie, and you look pretty solid. I'm a little bit taller than you, and I have some pictures looking like that too at my absolute best when I was natural, younger guy. Yeah. Yeah, it's a game changer. I mean, I was a skinny lad. I I was basically malnourished when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting on the weight, definitely not weight like as in weight, but like
For
muscle,
sure. Yeah.
completely changed the way that the world treats you. Like, men treat you different, business opportunities improve, they respect you more.
Yeah.
Women certainly eyeball you more. I think the epiphany moment for me was I was dating this girl. I was in my early 20s, like maybe 22 or 23, and we were watching the air show at the waterfront.
Mhm.
And I was wearing these pants that used to be a little snugger on me, so they were kind of hanging a little lower than normal because I'd lost weight and I was pretty ripped and thin. And she got mad at me. She came up to me. She's like, "Can you pull your pants up? You're acting like a what did she say? Calvin Klein underwear model or some shit like that." Like totally
Yeah.
chirped me out. I was like, "Holy
Mhm.
crap, that's a compliment if I ever heard one."
Yeah. Yeah, that was I had a moment like that too. There was a girl that I was dating when I was heavier, and then, she went away and came back after I lost the weight, and she actually, like, she pulled one of these, she stopped and stood up on her toes, and then she said, "Oh my god, you're an Adonis," and I went, "Oh, I didn't expect
Yeah,
that many nice things."
yeah.
But,
Men severely underestimate the importance of. I mean, it's usually blanketed called self care, but doing
yeah,
the work on yourself so that you're fit and you're in good shape, because it matters. It matters a lot. It really
yeah,
does make a big difference. And it's anybody can do it. I mean, not everybody can be rich, but just about anybody can be fit. All you have to do is eat decent calories and pick up
yeah,
heavy stuff. And
yeah.
if you're in your 20s, your body will respond very easily, I think, anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's true for almost everybody. Like, it's difficult to deal with, like, people are living such unnatural, stressful lives. They're, waking up to alarms, having their sleep interrupted. They're working at jobs with the fluorescent lights blasting in their eyes. They're staring at screens all day. They're eating hydrogenated oils and everything like that. It's difficult to tell people that it's necessarily easy to get fit. If you know the right choices and you can live the right lifestyle, it becomes easy.
What
That's
was
the
your
difficult.
inspiration? Like, where did you take the lead for self-care, like getting fit and put on
I
some
don't
muscle?
I don't think that I had an inspiration. I think I just always kind of knew that it was a good idea, and I
Mhm.
didn't care until after this bad relationship I had.
Mhm.
That's the blue pill. That's I used to believe that it doesn't matter. They tell you all those things. "Oh, dude, it
Just
doesn't
be
matter
yourself.
if you're fat. We're all equal. We all have that, like, inner value."
Mhm.
And that this girl did not agree.
Mhm.
And, I wanted her to just, like, love me and be happy with me as I am, and that just is not the way that it works, and
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest. I guess that would probably be it. It probably would mostly be my bad relationship with that one particular girlfriend that gave me all the evidence I need that those were lies, that we're not at the end of history. We're not at a point where all the old ways don't matter. It's just like that's what humans are. That's how we're set up to be, and you can either work with it or you can lose.
I'm assuming this was all before like the whole math channel and all that, right?
Oh yeah, that this was this bad girlfriend was I was 22 when I met her, 22 or 23,
Mhm.
and that was in 2008 was the last time I saw her.
Okay.
So
Um,
yeah, this has only been a year and a half.
I mean, from the videos that I've seen, you've got a good grasp of the sexual marketplace and what women respond positively to and what they respond negatively to, and translating their TikToks into understandable clips.
Yeah.
Um, has your view on women changed since you've updated your beliefs there?
Well,
And
when
how?
do you mean, like, since when I was 23 or since the last year and a half?
Um, since you sort of figured out, like, I think that one of the things that I've used, YouTube for, if I can be honest, is
Yeah.
especially in the early years, for the first few years, I almost use it to sort of like work shit out. It's like,
Oh, for
okay,
sure.
I'm reading these books, I'm watching a video, I read a study, there's an Evo Psych book that I went through, sort of thing. And it's like, I kind of was working ideas and concepts out. I was talking to people, I was doing a lot of consults as well, because I'd done it in my businesses prior. So I almost use the stuff that I was learning to sort of work it out. And I kind of see you doing the same sort of thing with your videos, like when you're
Mhm.
doing the visuals and the drawing. So I'm just wondering, like as you've sort of gone through this journey and you've updated your beliefs and you've created all these animations and all these videos that have gotten a lot of views,
Yeah.
have you changed your perspective on relationships and women and how?
Yeah, not really in the last year and a half. I would say that all of the big changes in the way that I view women in relationships happened when I became successful with them. When I started being the bad boy that was bad for them
Hmm.
and they couldn't quit. When I became that guy, I was like, "Oh, I understand a lot of behavior now. I understand why they would do this and that." When you're the other guy, when you're the nice guy, they just don't have those feelings. Like that's the whole point behind this thing. I need to I always feel this perpetual need to refine these things and make them clearer and use better words and better graphics. But the reason that I made this thing and tried to make it nice to look at and everything is because I like men really have to realize that when we go out and we look at women, we're like, okay, nice, 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 and they just don't. And
Yeah, they
that's
don't see
something
them.
that yeah, just does not sink in with a lot of men. And getting behind that, like getting that realization, it transforms everything that you think about society if you apply it well enough. If you understand the feminine selectiveness and you understand how much feelings matter, because feelings are everything. People like to say facts over feelings and everything, but
Mhm.
it's feelings that motivate you. It's like we use facts to get what our feelings want. And if you don't understand the feelings of other people, you don't understand anything. So all of that happened really between the first time that I ever got fit and COVID, basically, as I was just gaining more and more experience and learning more and more about people and about how they think and about how it works. And in the last year and a half, I'm kind of like done. I hate to say it. I think I might be cooked in every sense other than career wise because like things are going really well with that. But I since COVID haven't even really wanted to go outside. I
Mhm.
haven't been social. I haven't been motivated to do that. I just get everything that I need delivered basically. Um, so yeah, no, I haven't updated my views that much since I started. There's always details
Mhm.
about things that I learned from, like, I'll post a video and then a lot of women will comment and they'll say, actually, actually, actually. One of the things that I didn't know was a really big problem was when the mid guy gets a girl above his station, then suddenly he thinks he's on her level and he tries for better. And
Mhm.
then she uses him and then they both lose.
Mhm.
I didn't know that so many men were um, unconscious that they were doing well and then, tried to like didn't appreciate it or not appreciative of when they landed something
Mhm.
better than they really should have.
When do
So
you
yeah.
see women sort of dating down? Is there an age range that that you've seen this in?
What do you mean when you see women dating down like a less attractive guy?
Yeah, like I think I know what you're saying because I mean, what usually happens on a woman's journey, I find, is that they'll spend their 20s, in the party years and having fun and hooking up and building their career and blah 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 and being, building up the boss girl sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then at some point they get to their, late 20s, early 30s, and they realize that, their friends are having children and families and their biological clock starts screaming at them and they figure out they got to settle down and they realize that there's a limited amount of time and the window is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So they tend to usually settle for guys. Like I think that one of the things that a lot of women do is, and this probably contributes to the divorce rate too,
Yeah.
is that they don't get their first choice. They end up getting
Yeah.
guys that are their third, fourth, or fifth choice. And
Yeah.
I think that's how they end up in that scenario where you get like a guy that's a six that ends up with a seven or an eight. And
Yeah.
fundamentally, because women are hypergamous, they want to look up to a guy. They want to adore the man.
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of marriages end and a lot of knots get untied and they go off and try to hit the road running with a new guy.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a very unfortunate. It's like built into humanity. I think it was I don't want to get it wrong. I'm getting all the names wrong today. It might have been Jung or Freud or someone who
mm,
said that the husband is often a substitute for the beloved. There was some
mm,
quote like that. It's just this it goes all the way back into history that we all want to feel that wonder and amazement and that excitement for our whoever we are with, and it's so much easier for a man to do that because like a guy five can meet a girl five and be really excited about her. It's just less likely to happen the other way around. And so most men have to make up for that by providing, which is a very neat explanation for why when the man loses his job, the marriage falls apart.
Mm.
It's because that's compensatory. He's making up for not being the beloved object. So she's like, well, you're good enough. It's like just because of the way that we're built psychologically, most marriages end up kind of in this area. It's like
Mm.
if you get lucky, you get a guy who treats you really well. Most people get a guy who treats you well enough and he's attractive enough, but she's not thrilled. And then as soon as somebody more attractive comes along, it's like disaster. And
Yeah,
that's
it's rough. It's rough. I
Mhm.
mean, it's tough coaching guys on that too, and making it clear to them that like, you try to get through a guy's head and say she should be asking for your commitment, and that sounds foreign to them, and they don't understand that if she likes you enough and she desires you enough and sees you as an option that she can adore, she will ask for your commitment.
Yeah.
She'll go out of her way to get it. She'll look the other way, make concessions that she wouldn't for other guys. And far too many guys are like, oh, she touched my pee-pee and responded to my text within 5 minutes, so
Yeah.
I'm going to ask her to be my girlfriend, and then she's going to be
Yeah.
my wife, and we're going to go to church every Sunday, and everything will be just fine. And
Yeah.
it's like,
The
that's
eagerness.
not how it unfolds, unfortunately, for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and that's I mean, it's like that's obviously exactly the right advice for how to get the relationship that you want. And at the same time, not everyone can have that
Yeah.
just because like you can't match men and women up one to one such that everybody is thrilled. Like a lot of people are going to have to settle. And that's one of the things that I really struggle with. Like, I don't know how to send people that message that number one, you should be the guy that she's not settling for. And number two, if you have to be, then you should like admit that that's the best you can do at least now and do that rather than being bitter and checking out.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's a hard message to sell, that you might not ever be the best, but you can still do better than nothing, and the world kind of needs you to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy times.
Yeah.
It's been said that you can either love women or understand them. What do you think of that statement?
I think you can love and understand women.
Yeah.
I think you can. It's difficult. It's a somersault for sure. It's a trapeze act. Um, the the progression usually goes from loving women because you think that you idealize them, you think that they're nice, you think they're the good sex, and you think that they're um, returning your feelings. And then when you begin to understand them, there's the, what do they call it, the bitterness phase, the anger phase,
Mhm.
something like that. They have a red pill term for it.
Red pill rage is the one they use.
Right? Yeah, like that. And if you and that happened to me too. When I started seeing women behave like this, I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even know what women are anymore." And um, I did get bitter, and I kind of about certain ones in particular who exhibited certain behaviors. I was like, "Well, I don't need to care about you then. If you're
Mhm.
going to be like that, then I don't need to care about you." But if you keep going and you get to the point where you understand that that's just how they're built, and that there's also a how we're built, and we have our own faults, and so do like blue jays and earthworms, and like everything is built in a certain way. And when you recognize that that's just the way that they are, you can let go of that like animosity. You can let go of that um I wish they weren't that way, because what good does that do? What good does it do to wish that the ocean wasn't so big? Are you going to go get a cup and fix it? Like, you can't
Mhm.
fix what you don't like about women. So when you understand what's going on with them subconsciously, and the fact that most of them will remain subconscious permanently, then you can just take what you know they're going to do and put it in the boxes that work for you. And that's the best that you can do. You don't have to not love them at that point, because they're still human. We're still all
Yeah.
doing this being alive thing. And it's
Yeah, I
like,
think you're right. You kind of move back and forth through those different areas where it's like, you love them, then you understand them, then you have a hard time loving them, then you realize like when you understand them and you can accept them for what they are, then there's parts of them that you can love,
for sure.
and sort of like just surrender to parts of that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting change in a belief.
Yeah. Surrender is a big, that's a big That's a big challenge, I think. I don't know how it worked in times past. I don't know what people used to do. I know that this is
In what sense?
probably, well, the way that you don't get what you want in life,
Hmm.
and so you're gonna have to be happy with what you get.
Hmm.
If you watch old movies or whatever, they have people in the pilgrim hats with the buckle or whatever, and
Hmm.
they all say these nice folksy things about how you just churn your butter and that's your life and you have to be like thank God for it. And today, there's a lot of there's not a lot of gratitude. There's a lot of bitterness and envy, and like there's people all scratching Teslas with their car keys because they say it's because they're fighting Nazis or whatever, but it's
Hmm.
really they don't like their lives and they want someone to take it out on.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is like how much of that is because of how we live and how much of that is the human condition?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, man. Have you read a lot of Evo Psych?
I haven't really formally read EvoPsych. Like I learned about it a long time ago,
Yeah,
and whenever it pops up on the internet, I'll read it, but I've never like opened a book.
interesting.
Yeah.
Where'd you get all the like details and data from that you've compiled? Like, what's the source
Whenever
material?
whenever I start to make a video, whenever I have an idea and I'm responding to a video, the process that I do is I go through because I've been good at explaining this stuff for a really long time, way longer than I've had the channel. And I've always like helped my friends through it, and I always wanted to be a life coach since maybe 2011. I started developing that skill,
Hmm.
and so I have a really good sense of when I can explain something and when I can't. So like I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So as soon as I get the idea for a video and I know what I'm going to say, I just look it up as I go and I just go, "What is this about and what is that about?" Like I'm hoping to release a video today on there's a girl who asks, "What is a high body count? Like what is the limit?"
Hmm.
And then I explain this to her right here, the
Hmm.
purity section, how it's not just body count, but it's also like how many kids do you have? How many guy friends? What kind of guy? You know, what situation were you cheating? Was he cheating? Like all that stuff factors in. It's not just a number. And
Hmm.
as I was doing it, I looked up basically the relationship of body count to divorce, and there was a study that said that the worst number was 2. And I mean, there's so much.
Did you look at the full Teachman study?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there's a full study that there's two versions of it. One goes up to 11. They stop collecting the data after that, and there's another one that goes up to I think 21. They stop collecting the data after that, but it gets progressively worse. But the shorter study says 3 is actually better than 2 in most
Yeah,
scenarios, which was interesting. But a
yeah,
virgin as a I think it's something like an 80 something plus percent chance of a happy marriage.
yeah. And there aren't
Versus
any.
somebody that's been through, like a dozen dicks and it ends up being like less than 30%. So there's definitely a correlation.
Yeah,
And like, it's tough. Like I was, thinking about this, the other day when I was in the car, cause I was going to make a video and I was like, maybe I'll make a video and call this one, the chart that ruined marriage for me sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Probably be the, best way to title it, but there's certainly a correlation. And a lot of the stuff that I've come to learn is mostly through like the Evo Psych studies.
Mhm.
David Buss Labs, he's got the most compelling content, and there's other people that sort of review it. I'm listening to one now on Darwinism, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, there's tons of source material out there. It's never
Oh, for
ending.
sure. Yeah, it's the way that I go about it just for the sake of efficiency because I'm not a researcher or an academic. I don't claim to be. What I claim to do is I offer insight and understanding, and that's like it's basically an extension of life coaching,
Yeah.
which is what I do. Like I just explain to people these are the lessons that you haven't learned yet, and I like find a way to get them through to you in the lowest number of words and the lowest number of lines in simple colors. And the data and everything is just like a support for that. So a lot of it I learn as I go. I definitely didn't expect for 2 to be worse than 3, and I don't have an explanation for it. I don't have an explanation for a lot of the stuff. I'm trying to think of a second example, but there are some things that pop up that make me go, "Oh, that's not what I would have thought," but I have to record that. and
Yeah.
get
It's
to it
not
later.
significantly worse. It's just worse. And then it gets worse again after that once you
Yeah,
get like 4, 5 and plus.
yeah.
But
It
yeah,
is disappointing to learn.
men have always desired chastity, and that's not going to change despite what women keep telling each other. You can be promiscuous with impunity and go out there and do whatever you want, girl. And they're learning the hard way that they're getting. I mean, smart guys won't wife up a woman that's got a big notch count anyway.
Yeah,
And I think even guys that don't get it inherently, like hardwired into their DNA, are repulsed by women with a promiscuous past, even
yeah,
if they don't understand all these concepts. So
yeah, yeah.
it's never going to go away.
When you have that conversation, like I used to live in two different large cities, and I would meet all these women who were just gorgeous and intelligent, and I really loved being around them. And then we would have the conversation, or not really have the conversation, but she would drop the information.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to time this right. There we go. And I would experience the drop off right here, where it's like, this is how attached I am to her. The blue line and the pink is how attached she is to me. And right at about the 2-month mark, she goes, "Here's all the disgusting things I did in my past." And I go, "Uh-oh, this isn't gonna last." And I just go, and she doesn't notice for a little while, and it just kind of dies off. But
Yeah.
there have been, several times where there was someone I really liked, and then she told me not only what she used to do, but some of them say what they intend to keep doing, like polyamory and all that. There was a girl who told me at one point, like, she cheated on someone with me, and I
Mhm.
found out, and I said to her, "You should not cheat. It's not nice." And so she thought that meant that I wanted to marry her. So she dumped the guy for me, and I said, "That was not what I said. I'm not going to be with you. I know you're a cheater. You're going to
Yeah.
cheat on me too." And what she said was, "But I'm worth it."
Back to the table talk, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm worth it. Yeah.
That was that was like
Yeah.
one day from 90% to 10%. I was like,
And I
"Ooh,
mean, like, the interesting thing about that 2 months or 6 months in, it's like that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's what she's willing to tell you. There's a
yeah,
lot of stuff that they're unwilling to tell you that
yep,
resides below the surface. And just like an iceberg, most of it still resides below the surface. So that's a
yep,
strong indicator that you're dealing with a woman of low moral character. So
yep."
it's a pretty quick way to assess them.
It is. Yeah. It's it's very it's very sad. It's very disappointing to think of like how much human capital got deceived into being that way, because
Mhm.
these are not like dumb, ugly girls. It's like these could have been really like great parts of families, great mothers and wives, and instead they just want to have their good feelings all the way through their 20s and early 30s, and then complain about, where did all my good feelings go, without ever introspecting as to why we might not want.
I have a theory about the creation of this. I'll run it up the flagpole and see if you salute this
Sure.
idea. So it's something like 40% of households are single parent households, which translates to single mother the vast majority of the time because they get the custody. So the vast majority of children today, sorry, not the vast majority, a lot of children today aren't raised with a father around. And then you've got the other 60 odd percent where the father is around. And I think a lot of men are sort of plugged in beta males and they don't know how to set boundaries, and it's happy wife, happy life, and
Yep.
and they just sort of go along to get along.
Yep.
And then you've got whatever's left over with like the strong, masculine, virtuous fathers. Maybe they're like old school, like European or whatever, with strong boundaries and rules sort of stuff. And they dispense good advice, and they have, the daughters maybe even have siblings or older siblings, brothers, that also dispense good advice.
Mhm.
And then I wonder what percentage of the women that get good advice aren't obedient to the advice and just go and do whatever they want anyway.
Yeah.
Which racks up a series of problems. And I think that's why we have this problem where we've got like such a small contingent of women that are actually like good women that are capable of having a committed long-term relationship in a monogamous fashion, can pair bond to the guy, and everything works out. Because
Sure.
I mean, it's tough, man. You're dealing with a lot of, we do this podcast on the other channel called Ladies Night.
Mhm.
And I was talking to Moff about this the other day, and it's like something like, we figure something like 80 to 85% of women
Mhm.
are just not capable of a good relationship. Like, you wouldn't want to invite them into your life.
It seems that way. Where do you get the number?
Well, with ladies' night, you can just observe the the talent because they're just
Oh,
random
for sure.
girls. It's not like we just pick trash or anything like that. Like they're just absolutely random girls that.
This is like a podcast?
Yeah, yeah, we've done about a year and a half worth of episodes, once a week. And then
Yeah.
also, when you sort of deal with, like, I think the father plays such a significant role in sons and daughters' lives, and it's doing something to really just ruin the fabric of society at this point, where they're either removed from the house, they're
Yeah.
deadbeat losers, maybe they are in the house and are plugged in betas and they're useless, or if they are good men that are also good at men and they give advice, the daughters aren't obedient to the advice and they just
Yeah.
sort of cast it aside and go do whatever they want. So I think you have a very small percentage of women that are actually good at being
Yeah.
partners, if you can put it that way. If I can use that word.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I do, I'm very conspiracy minded. I'm very like when I get really tired and stressed out, where I go is paranoia. That's my disintegration direction, and so
Mhm.
I'm aware of that. But at the same time, I like to be very objective and rational about these kinds of things, and I cannot see what's happening in our media culture and society as anything but deliberate. The way that the father is always he's a dope and a fool, and like Everybody Loves Raymond, for example.
Mhm.
Uh, you're familiar with John Gottman, right?
John Gottman, he's the author that writes. Are we talking about the same guy? The guy that writes books on relationships, Gottman?
Yeah, yeah, he was a marriage researcher,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Some of his advice actually sucks. I got one of his
really,
books. He had a soundbite of it that was just awful.
huh? That's I'll have to look into that. What was some of the bad advice? Do you remember?
If I remember, and I think I made a video of it because I was listening to his book when I was driving and I was playing it, and I actually played the clip. He said something along the lines of, when a man asks a woman for sex and she declines, then his best move is to say, "Oh, okay, so what could I do to maybe improve that or get
Oh
a more
yeah,
positive response? Would you like me to make some popcorn and we can sit down and watch a movie together and cuddle first, sort of thing?" And it's like, I was listening to that going, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this guy's an expert on this subject? Like, this is what
yeah,
he's got?"
yeah. This is exactly what you're pointing to right now. Is exactly the problem that I have with the social sciences and with research as applied to subjectivity and consciousness and relationships.
Mhm.
He's observing when he does that what the woman says and does, and she'll say, like, it's the same way that they say, if you help me with the chores, it makes me horny. It's never
Mhm.
true,
Short play.
but they say it because that's what they want you to do. And they
Yeah.
have this subconscious built-in thing where it's like, I will trade sex, or at least the promise of sex, for service. And so if you make the popcorn, have the conversation with her, she'll say that she's happy with it, but does it get the behavior that you want? And of course, the answer is no. But I'm assuming that they couldn't observe that part of the research for obvious reasons. Um, so yeah, that's interesting, and that tracks. But despite that, Gottman is still he's one of the most widely acclaimed researchers for what problems are going to predict divorce. So he would put couples in, I think, something like a bed and breakfast
Mhm.
for a few weeks and watch their behavior, and he would code their behavior and say how many bids for attention would they respond to, and how many positive and negative messages, and how much time they spend together and apart, and everything
Mhm.
like that. And he coded it all, and he found that I took a class in college where we looked at the 10 strongest predictors of divorce that came from Gottman, and
Mhm.
they were all of them are present in Everybody Loves Raymond, which is why I brought that up.
It's
So
contempt is right at the top, though, isn't it?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
contempt is number one, and that's what the whole show is about. It's Deborah looking at Raymond and going, "You idiot!"
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well,
And
that's
they,
what
they
every sitcom show's ever been about. The Cosby Show, Home Improvement. I mean, even going back to the 80s and 90s when I was younger and used to watch a lot of that television, that's what the premise of each show was, is the father's a bumbling moron. And
yeah,
then you'd watch commercials which would portray the man or the father in the house is a bumbling moron, and the women need to buy these cleaning products because he's such an idiot and such a pig, that
Yeah.
it'll solve all of their problems, right?
Yep. Yep. And that stuff seeps into the consciousness. And that's sort of what I'm illustrating here, that there's people, not just women, but it's what we're talking about at the moment. They have a relationship to where they come from and their family and their father figures, and then they have a relationship to media and culture and society. And this is fun. This is where all the fun is. This is where all the sex is, and all of the drinking, and all of the parties, and all of the people who can give you validation. And then this is like, it feels like being Amish listening to your father. And so things are just going to keep going this way as long as the family is not empowered to raise the children. As
Mhm.
long as the father in particular is not empowered to say, here's where we're going, here's where we're not going, I forbid this, I enable that. They don't have that power anymore,
Mhm.
especially because divorce is so easy and the mother can just take everything away from him and then spoil the kids and send them
Yeah.
to this. That's what my parents did with me. Whenever I asked them anything, whenever I asked them to like teach me things like a
Mhm.
child wants their parents to do,
Yeah.
they would say, "Oh, you learned that from school and TV."
Oh, they didn't. Okay. Yeah. I just want to be respectful of your time. How much time you got, by the way?
I've got some time.
Okay.
I've got I think like a good half hour.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to get moving along then, because there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk to you about. The notion of marriage and children.
Yeah.
Are you planning to have kids?
I'm not planning to. There
No.
was a girl last year who came into my life. She watched my content and bought a life coaching session from me and then pursued me very aggressively. She was a lot younger than me. And I told her, I'm kind of a mess right now since COVID and everything. There's going to be a difficult period. I don't have money yet. I'm getting money. I'll have money soon. And, I'm going to have to do this and this and this. And she said, that's fine. I'll deal with it. And then she didn't. So we gave it a shot.
Hmm.
She wanted to have kids. I think that I would have had no problem doing that with her.
Mm,
But like as I am right now, where I'm not, in a relationship, I don't have an active desire to.
mm.
I don't
Do
think
you
I've
don't want
ever
to
felt
scatter
that.
seed? You don't want to leave a name behind?
I don't I don't feel very strongly about it.
Mm,
It's
okay.
it's almost foreign to me. It's almost alien. Like I understand that that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's why it's where we came from. But for me, it's just an unconscious motivation. Like I see women and I want to do the behaviors that cause that to happen. But when I think about it, it's like when we're done here and I get up and turn around, look at my apartment, my first feeling is not going to be like, where are all the kids?
Yeah.
That just doesn't, I
How
don't
old are
know
you?
where that is in my consciousness. Was that? Right?
How old are you?
Oh, how old? I am 40.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I guess you had mentioned that somewhere. I saw somebody reply to the post on X. I think they called you a 40-year-old incel or a former incel.
Yeah.
And they had some kind words for me as well too. I can't remember what they were. I just
Yeah. They've got a
over
lot of kind words, don't they?
them. What do you usually get criticized the most for?
Incel is the most popular thing. People
Yeah.
will say, it's just boilerplate. It's just like libtard boilerplate.
Mm,
It's incel. It's racist. It's anytime you tell the truth about anything, people threaten you. Um, it mostly is people who don't know who I am, haven't watched much of my stuff, don't have any idea what it is that I'm doing, and they see me say one thing that they don't like, and then they from that extrapolate my entire life story.
mhm.
People will very often, like this morning, I went on a tirade about video games, and last night I did anime because I really can't see this world fixing itself with everybody believing that life is going to get better when you go into escapism, that
Mhm.
entertainment and that feeling good is what there's so many, like I quit video games so long ago and I replaced them with so many things that are as fun and feel as good and also make me a better person and I
Like
learn
what?
things and I wish I could get that through to them. But when you challenge that, they just really tighten up.
Like what? Like what did you swap out video games for?
Well, I have played guitar since I was 16, but when I gave up video games, I started practicing a lot more
Okay.
and I became quite good at it. I also learned to sing in the car when I was delivering pizza, and now I will do that at home. I read a lot. I do a lot of reading and studying, and I like to figure things out. Like right
Mm,
now, I have a spreadsheet with all of the notes, like all the musical notes, all the way from like C0 all the way up to B12 or whatever,
mhm,
and the frequencies, and I have it in 432 hertz and 440 hertz. And what I'm trying to do is analyze the relationships between, like, the ratios between certain notes and why they give us certain feelings. Why does one sound heroic? Why does one sound royal? What is it about 5 to 3? Like, let me get that. What is it about 5 to
mhm.
3, right? That sounds royal or happy or sad. I want to see if I can articulate that in the same way that I articulate relationship stuff.
Did you ever see
So,
that video on YouTube breaking down John Bonham and his rhythm on the drums?
no.
It's really interesting because he's one of the best drummers out there. You might want to look it up. I think it would be right up your alley.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the title is, but it's got millions of views. It's really interesting the way they sort of break down the way that he would hit the skins.
Bonham is
Um,
what, Bonn?
yeah.
All
Have
right.
you ever
Yeah.
been diagnosed with anything on the spectrum?
No, I did after COVID again. I needed some uh, Adderall. I guess I can say it. It's not that
Mm,
big of a deal, and it's been, man, has that been helpful for the last few years. But when I went into the office to get it, right away the doctor said, "Have you ever been diagnosed with autism?" And I said, "No, why?" And she said, "Well, it was something about eye contact and something about your mannerisms." A lot of
okay.
people think that I am on the spectrum. I don't know how I feel about all that. I think that classifying that as a disorder might be a bit ambitious.
No, I don't think it's a disorder. I think for a guy like you, I mean, the way that you sort of work stuff out and you sort of suss through it, I mean, even if you were on the spectrum, you'd be super highly functional, kind of like
Yeah,
an Elon Musk sort of
yeah.
um, character. But I mean, like you have a different way of sort of working through stuff and thinking through stuff that you can take complex ideas and make them make sense to a fucking 4-year-old or
Yeah,
somebody in grade 4, if I can put it that
for
way.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah, it makes total sense.
yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you about the anon approach to your channel because
Uh,
when I started out my channel, I didn't think for a minute to use a pen name, hide my like I use my you can Google my name anywhere and you'll see every business that I've run, find my
of
LinkedIn
course,
and all this kind of shit. So
of course.
I didn't really put too much thought into it. I didn't think it was going to be a problem just broadcasting myself because I never really had problems when I was coaching guys starting up their business or speaking at events or doing any of those things. But the internet is a very different place, as I'm sure you've come to understand. Did
Mhm.
you plan to approach it from like a non perspective? Did you have a job that you were trying to guard any issues from? Like, what was the plan for you?
That I didn't really, again, have plans because I just sort of posted a video and then woke up the next day. But once I realized that I was going in that direction, I guarded my identity pretty tightly, pretty quickly. And the reason for that was mostly the 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 fallout, the emotional fallout that I have still from the behavior of everybody I knew during COVID and George Floyd. They were
Mm,
people turned into zombies, and they were you know, threatening and derisive and violent, and I was like, my entire life depended on this social group that I was a part of, and the way that they were behaving, it was just is like very uncomfortable feelings for a very long time. And when I realized that I was getting popular, the first thing that I felt before, like, "Oh, I'm gonna be rich and maybe I'll be on Joe Rogan one day," or anything, before any of that stuff was, I don't want any of those people talking to me ever again.
mhm,
I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, I know who that is," and have my face everywhere. I just wanna make my stuff and be at home. And, I thought about that for a while, and it never really became extremely clear, like, whether it's a good idea or not and what I'm gonna gain and lose by it. It mostly is about comfort. It mostly is about, I just don't want to deal with anything that would come from being known.
Mm. I think at some point somebody will recognize your voice that knows you, and then
For sure.
yeah, it'll be out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a wise way to approach it. How many
Yeah.
views do you get monthly on your channel now?
Well, I've got a lot of channels. So my TikTok I have dropped. I'm not really doing that anymore. They don't pay anymore.
Mm,
And they're very ban happy too. I think I got demonetized on TikTok and I don't care anymore. I post so little there.
mm.
On YouTube, I'm getting I know it's several million views. Um, I can't off the top of my head remember, but I know that it is I'm gaining like 17,000 followers a month still, which is pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's growing pretty quick. Like if I ever get back to posting the way I used to, like several shorts a day, I
Mhm.
probably will get to 1 million by the end of the year if it
Yeah.
keeps going at this
Yeah, you'll
pace.
get there in no time. But
Yeah,
yeah, with that kind of viewership, people will recognize you in public. I
oh, for
mean,
sure.
the vast majority, sorry, not even the vast majority, everybody that I've ever talked to in the public has always been very nice. I've always been grateful and
Oh
thankful.
yeah,
The haters never talk to you. They just don't.
yeah,
I'm sure they've seen me, but they just don't bother making an approach or saying anything because
yeah.
they're haters, right?
Yeah, you always hear that stuff about like the guy who went to Nick Fuentes' house with a gun.
Right. Yeah.
You always
Yeah.
hear about that. I don't want to deal with that. But,
Yeah.
that is, I guess, pretty rare. I guess that's one story and there's how many people? Well, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing is like I haven't done a statistical analysis on it. There are all those conservative commentators getting swatted. And I'm
Mm,
not necessarily a conservative, but I do say things that make people put me in the not good guy camp.
yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I actually don't know if that's a significant risk or not.
Um, I think for a guy like you, you're fine. I mean, you just sort of
Yeah.
I mean, I take it as, hey, but I mean, this is me, but I take it as, hey, here's my assessment of the situation. Here's some visuals to sort of help you understand it. Um, Bye, sort of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, yeah, there's always that notion of like the crazies out there because like I get asked some personal questions, sometimes on a
Yeah.
stream, and I'm more careful now about giving away certain pieces of information.
Mhm.
Just because I don't need the unhinged lunatics
Yeah.
bothering me. But yeah, it's very good, for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not that worried about it. Like, if it happens, I'll deal with it,
Yeah,
but I'm not excited to make it happen. So
yeah, yeah.
we'll just
No, I
see how
got
it
you.
goes.
I got you. I think I saw you mention somewhere that you'd gone on a bit of a walkabout. You decided to sort of move and find a new place to live
Yeah.
in the States.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the reasoning behind that? Where you landed? Like, how much, whatever detail you want to give out it, because
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I'm because I'm curious about it from my angle because I want to get the hell out of Canada in a few years, and I
Oh,
just
yeah.
want to hear from a guy that's sort of like done a little bit of exploring in that area.
Yeah, I've been all over the place. I've looked at everywhere that I might want to live twice. I've seen everything. I've driven all the way across the country 3 times. One of them took me 9 days, one of them took me, I think, like 32 days, and then one of
Okay.
them took me a little bit over 3 months. That was my last trip. So I went
Was that
from
recently when you were putting out content too?
Yes, so that
Okay.
was over the last few months, from August until November. I basically There's the Great Lakes, there's Maine, Florida, Texas. I basically I don't keep it a secret that I come from New England, but I don't get any more specific.
Mm.
So I checked out some spots in New England. I went down to Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, and I went to go see Rudyard from What If Alt Hist, who's a very fun guy. And then I went over to Nevada and out west and up to Seattle and over to Idaho. And then I turned around and stopped somewhere along the same route. And I also drove across the country this way and this way. So I've seen quite a lot of it. And the problem I'm having is that you really just it's the two Americas problem.
Mm.
You have an America where people are sane, and then you have an America that is pretty. And so one of the things that I really, really want is to live in a place that has mountains and lakes and scenery. And I love California. Northern California and the west coast of Oregon all the way up to Washington is my favorite place in the world. If I
Yeah.
could buy a house there on the ocean or on a lake or something, I would. But I am just scared about where they're going legally. I'm scared about how, like, I hear that Washington has an absurd crime rate and that's kind of new. And they have all those laws. Like, I don't want to live anywhere where if someone breaks into your home and you defend yourself, you're the bad guy.
Yeah. That's anywhere in Canada, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. And that is a very real feeling to me, because when I lived in the city, I lived in a very nice neighborhood. I think it was the best neighborhood in the city I lived in. And during the George Floyd stuff, all of a sudden, crime just moved into the neighborhood, like literally in one day. It was a nice neighborhood, and then the next day there were people getting attacked on the street. I could see it from my bedroom window. There were windows getting smashed everywhere. I saw a car jacking. I saw one. I started hearing gunshots, and I was like, I don't want to live in a place that has laws where I have to just lay down when somebody does something like that to me. So it's like, if I want to live in a place that is still sane, it's like Tennessee or Texas. And if I want to live in a place that's pretty, it's like Washington or California's out because they take all of your money. But it would be Washington, Oregon, maybe Maine or New Hampshire. Those are, and maybe Nevada, near Lake Tahoe. Those are places that I'm considering. I am may or may not be near one of those places right now, but when I buy property and when I settle down, it's probably going to be either Seattle-ish, Lake Tahoe-ish, Austin, Tennessee. I think Knoxville was my favorite place in Tennessee, or New Hampshire. It'll probably be one of those. And and I can't really tell you why, because they all have such a different mix of things that I want. Like, I just can't get everything that I'm comfortable with.
Did you have a look at Florida too, or no?
I did. I'm not sure how much I would be happy there. I've been to Florida loads of times, mostly when I was a kid, and my cousin lives there, my father lives there. I used to have an aunt who lived there a long time ago. She died like 15 years ago, I think. So I've been down there a lot. I'm not sure if I really like always hot, flat. I'm not sure if I like the clientele. I just don't. I don't know if Florida is culturally. I don't know. Maybe the Panhandle. I haven't checked that out yet, but it's good for tax purposes and it's sane, mostly.
Yeah.
So it's a very complex decision.
Yeah, you guys have. I mean, you have a lot more options in the States than we do in Canada, because it's pretty much the same across Canada. It's just shit.
Yeah.
Whereas, in the States, it's like how you kind of broke it out. You've got sane, pretty, you've got tax benefits. There's even there's certain states, like a lot of people ask me about kids often, and there's a website called the National Parenting Organization that releases a report card every year, and they grade all the states based on how friendly they are to fathers. And there's even states in the US where it's default 50-50 if you get divorced. There's no fight over the kids, which solves a large chunk of the problems that most men have if they ever have kids. So there's a lot of optionality in the US that doesn't exist here where I live. And there's even a lot of people that I've seen that have just said, F the States, I'm out, I'm going to give up my citizenship and my passport. And they go and become a citizen of another country and get passports there, sort of thing, because they seem to think that there's even better places in the US.
What are the popular ones?
From what I've heard, Dubai, obviously. There's a country in South America. I think it's Uruguay. It's supposed to be like the Switzerland of South America, is what they call it. So there's a few options around the world to take a look at. There's obviously, like Caribbean islands that I'm contemplating too, because they're relatively close to Toronto. It's easy to travel back and forth if I need to. So there's a few things that I'm sort of, looking at, but I think I'm probably going to land somewhere in the Appalachian area. I've got friends in Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yeah.
I do kind of like Florida a little bit, but I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, hot all the time, rains 3 times a day in the summertime. The humidity is kind of annoying.
Yeah. The everything flat thing is bizarre to me.
Super flat.
I can't really imagine everything just being on a flat plate and then being around Florida people who are.
You drove across the country. Are you a car guy or?
I'm not really like a car appreciator. I'm a car relier. So
it's transport.
Yeah, I've always needed them. So The first time I drove across the country was in a Toyota Corolla,
Right.
and it was like a 2007. It was like, I've always been broke until I started making money doing this. So it was
Mhm.
like my mother gave me her old Toyota Corolla and drove it
Mm.
across the country. And then I did 8,000 Uber rides with it and couldn't drive it back. So I bought another similar level car. When it comes to cars, I mostly just appreciate low maintenance rather than sportiness.
Yeah, you
But
can't really go wrong with a Corolla then.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now that I'm making money, I'm wondering if I can afford to get something with a little bit more performance, but I don't think I would ever go for like a luxury car. I'm thinking of something that might have a 0 to 60 of like under 6 seconds and maybe some off-road capability, like just maybe a mid to high level SUV, but
Mm.
not ever like I think if I had $1 billion, I probably would not buy a Lamborghini.
Okay. So you're not a car guy, you just
No.
transport.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that's never done anything for me. It's very similar to the do you want kids question. It's like I
Yeah.
get that the car would be fun, but I would feel like, God, there's $1 million car in my garage and I don't want to take it anywhere. I just want to be at home drawing cartoons. It would
Yeah,
feel like
I understand that there's definitely there's definite petrol heads. You're definitely not a petrol head.
yeah.
I mean, I cause all kinds of havoc going through the Appalachian Mountains when we go on rallies.
Mhm.
We just fucking tear it up, man, with the cars, and it's just a lot of fun. It's
Yeah.
for me, it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on, but that's just my character, right? For
Yeah.
you, it's probably like drawing and playing the guitar.
Yeah, it's drawing and playing the guitar, and my favorite thing that I have done in the last few years is getting out to the Rockies and
Yeah, Rocky's beautiful.
going to Glacier National Park and getting like there was this place called Jackson, I think Jackson Glacier, Jackson Peak or something.
Yeah, I got
And
a
there's
friend that
like,
lives there.
oh yeah, oh that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he's a
And
doctor in the area.
yeah, there's a little like a house way up top, and it's like just the roads that go down on into, and it was the middle of July, dead in the center of summer, and it was just snow all over
Wow.
the place. It was like 11,000 feet up.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
one of the
that'll
most
happen.
gorgeous things.
Do
So
you
that's
ski or
like
snowboard?
I've only been skiing 3 times and never snowboarded. That's
Mhm.
something that I probably will pick up once I settle down somewhere. If I settle down somewhere snowy, that'll probably be a hobby. Because what is that going to cost? Like $2,000 for equipment?
Yeah, probably for decent equipment
Yeah, that's
and
no
your lift
big
tickets
deal.
and staying in the area.
Yeah, that would be super
Um, how did magic internet money change your life when your channel blew up and you started to pull it in?
fun. I am extremely good with money. And when I say that, I don't mean like investment. I mean not wasting.
Not spending it.
Yeah. So I live pretty cheaply. My rent is only 1,300, and that includes all my utilities.
Wow.
It's a pretty small place. It's comfortable. It's in a nice, quiet neighborhood. I have a good view. I'm looking at mountains right now. I have, the cheap car. It's paid off. It's like I think it was 27.5 brand new. I don't get like crazy expensive food. I've started buying nicer steak, and that's a big deal. Like a $20 a pound steak is something brand new for me.
Mm.
And that like those little things moving from cheap to regular is mostly what that's done for me. And then everything else is just stacking up in the bank, and I'm figuring out where to invest it. Like, am I going to buy a property, or am I going to put it in Bitcoin, or I have to figure out what to do with that so I'm not losing it to inflation. But so far, it's given me the ability to go where I want and do what I want. Like living in Airbnbs over the winter, over the summer, the fall, whatever,
Mhm.
from August to November. That was definitely one of the best memories that I have. Being able to go wherever I want, take out my laptop, work from wherever I am, ride my bike around Tennessee and Nevada and check out everything. That kind of freedom is a big deal. And other than that, it hasn't materialized yet. It's like better food, nicer clothes. I got a better microphone. It didn't work today, so it's one of these Shure ones.
Mm.
But upgrading my stuff and
Did you get the cloud lifter for it? You need a cloud lifter to make that one work.
oh no, yeah, no. This one is the it's got the XLR and the USB,
Oh,
and
okay.
I haven't done the XLR yet, but yeah, I do know about the cloud lifter.
Okay.
Um, That's for when I get into the advanced stuff. The USB thing, it made it so easy. It's
Yeah.
so much higher quality without fussing with it. But yeah. So yeah, that's really all the money's done for me so far. Oh, and also the confidence that I can actually like take a woman on an impressive date. I actually
Mhm.
got to do that with two different girls. There was the girl who wanted to marry me last year, and then there was somebody on my way across the country who I took on like a proper date for probably the first time in my life, and not just like coffee or like beer and nachos, which is all I could afford before, and I was
Mhm.
relying on just my charm and my looks. But now it's like, oh, I can get you stuff that you can't get yourself.
Yeah.
That's a fun feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait till they figure out how much cash you have, and then you'll start hearing things like, "Why are you so cheap? Why don't you buy a nicer
Yep.
car?"
Exactly. Yep.
So what's next for you, man? Like what's on the horizon?
More videos, more. I made the video on, I don't know if you know my levels video, where I talk about, like, early on, I was talking about developmental psychology in terms of, this is from the,
Yeah, I've seen one or two of those.
yeah. Um, I was talking about developmental psychology in terms of like where the dating crisis came from and why people are so immature. It's basically, the short story is, once you get up to the sixth level here, you start feeling like there shouldn't be any rules and we all should be who we want to be. And what that does is it dissolves this level because it's all about rules, and then nobody can grow through it. And so now we have a whole generation who's all very childish. And I was showing a lot of examples of that, and people asked questions and asked questions. So I made these videos showing how all that works, and it's by far my most popular YouTube video, and I feel ridiculous that I didn't just like completely switch to that right away. But I'm on such a momentum with the dating stuff that I can't stop that either. So what's coming up next is I'm going to continue all the dating stuff because I have an infinite amount about it to say, but I'm also going to do more levels in developmental psychology. My next big video that I'm releasing is on psyops. You familiar with psyops?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wanna
So
talk
I
about the
talked.
scamdemic or
Yeah, well, yeah, we're talking about that. We're talking about different examples of how they work. One of my fans is an expert in basically brainwashing, and he works with the FBI, and he reads like declassified documents. He's got all the inside info, and so he walks me through step by step the process of psyoping people, and then I use that. I use my skills to explain to people how to recognize when it's happening to you. More like that. More videos like that. I'm going to milk this for all it's worth. I will never run out of content. I can definitely have content of the same quality or higher until I die. I can do this till I'm 90 if it lasts that long.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of irons in the fire. So I have this product called SelfMax, which is an AI life coach. It's still kind of in the early stages of development, but it's helping a lot of people.
Did you build it?
Basically, sorry?
Did you build it?
Oh, no, I'm not a coder. Some developers reached out to me, and
Mhm.
they liked the level stuff, and they wanted to see if I had any projects in mind.
That's
So
great.
we built something that uses AI to ask the user questions,
Yeah.
and you give it answers, and it tells you what level it thinks you're thinking at. And we're going to make that more sophisticated. We're going to transform that into different ways that you apply it rather than just your answer, because of course everybody goes and gives their highest possible answer and they go, oh, I'm level 8, and really what that means is that you answered those questions at level 8 when you were sitting down and concentrating. But
Yeah.
how are you living in your real life? So we're going to make that more sophisticated. We're going to build out the structure of SelfMax, which is, this is my map. I made a map for, basically, this is how your mind brings you through your life. It all starts with what you want, and then how you think about it, and then how you look and what you do, how your environment responds to you, what your situation is as a result of that, and then your feedback. So that's how it happens, whether you're conscious of it or not. So I made this to make people conscious of it, so you can start making your life rather than having it happen to you.
Mm.
So the whole service is based on that, and it's taken off. We just got a bunch more users, and we're
Yeah, I
going
saw
to,
that. People can subscribe for like $10 a month.
yeah, it's not that much.
Good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that much, and it's working out pretty well for us, and it's working out for the developers, working out for me. And yeah, as it gets better and better, it's going to be it definitely has the potential to become a very powerful tool. And if it begins working the way that it works in my mind, like if we can get the software to do exactly what I want it to do, we could get millions of subscribers for sure.
Mm.
It'll be that good. So I got a lot of irons in the fire like that. I'm going to publish a book of my tweets. I know you enjoy my tweets. All that kind of stuff. And wherever that takes me, it's going to be just that. And talking to another girl right now who is a fan of mine, see how this one goes. Maybe I'm in better condition this time. Maybe it works out better.
You
And
have
that is
to,
skiing.
I'll give you a bit of advice. A wise man once said that when the rabbit chases the hunter, you got to ask yourself why. And a lot of the
Yeah.
times when you get female fans that pursue you and sort of make advances towards you, you have to be extra careful with them.
Yes.
If I just put it that way.
Yes, I do. I do understand. The last one was, I mean, she's great. Like, I don't have any complaints about her. She was a great girl, and it was sad that it didn't work out. But for sure, you know, according to my favorite map that I use the most often, for sure, of all the relationships I had, it was the most based on this stuff rather than this. It's not like there wasn't any attraction, but it was, now that I have fame and money and stuff, it was mostly based on that. And I noticed that.
Mm.
And I said, well, I knew that was going to happen. And that's brand new for me. So I do have a lot of processing to do on how am I going to relate to the fact that girls will come to me for what I have rather than for the article itself.
I think the best way to suss that out is just with the word no and see how they respond to not getting
sure.
their way with certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever want to talk about that kind of shit offline, dive a little deeper down the rabbit hole and you want to sort of chop it up, I'm happy to do that with you as well.
Sure, yeah.
Seem like a good dude, man. Appreciate you, hopping on and carving out some time and sharing a little bit of your personal journey and your story. And, I wish you all the best with it as you sort of navigate life through it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. This was pleasant. This was
Cool.
a fun time.
Hang out just for a minute. I'm just going to end the stream. There's a small ad or an outro that plays. We'll just talk for a minute or two afterwards. So here we go. Thanks. All right, guys. If you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.